Hello, everyone. I'm Buford MC, and welcome back to another adventure in GregTech New Horizons. So, today we are on our 95th episode, and we are getting very close to episode 100. So, I've been thinking recently about what we should do for episode 100 because I think that's a pretty big accomplishment. 100 episodes. That's a ton of episodes. And I've been thinking, I think it's time, when we get to episode 100, for us to do a full base tour. So we have a whole base around us. I mean, this thing is huge. I mean, we've got, the main base is, of course, right here, but we've got all the outside stuff up here. We've got Path of the Mountain, which we still haven't done anything up there. I'd like to do something up there at some point, but I haven't done anything up there yet. But we've got quite a big area around us, so I've been thinking, I think it's time. We've got so many setups, we've got so many things. I think episode 100 I'm going to dedicate to being a full base tour. But we're not there yet. But I'm also wondering if there's anything else you'd be curious about. Maybe we can do for episode 100, anything special potentially. So I do want to mention that ahead of time, just in case there's any ideas that you have. So if you do have any ideas on what we could do for episode 100, please let me know. But I definitely think at the very least we'll do a base tour, and we'll see what else we do as well. So yeah, I wanted to mention that to start the episode off. But today we have a mission. And today I want to try and set up a brand new machine. And this machine is a little bit different from the other machines we've been using so far in the LV age. So the machine that I'm interested in today is the basic arc furnace. So this quest is it's kind of connected to the battery quest. So you have to go to the canner, and then we have to get the basic arc furnace. So this is going to be a very useful machine for us because it's going to allow us to make a couple of new ingots. Well, I say new ingots. One ingot's new, one of them's old. So it has 10 main uses for us right now. Raw silicon, which I don't think we have that. We can get silicon dioxide. I don't think we really need to do that. But the bigger use is this one here. We can turn iron directly into raw iron, which is something that we need, of course, in the LVH quite a bit. And, the process we've been doing is we have to cut the iron, and then we have to, I think it was compress it. I haven't actually done that in a while because I stockpiled a lot of this stuff, but we're going to need more of it at some point in the future. So we are going to need to do this, and it's going to be quite useful in making this faster. But the bigger use, and the thing I'm more interested in, is this one here, turning copper dust into a new material called annealed copper. Now, annealed copper is actually going to be quite useful to us pretty much immediately because by using annealed copper, we can actually, if I can find the recipe, wire mill, we can use annealed copper wires inside of assemblers, and we can start making, if I can find these recipes, there we go. We can start making things like vacuum tubes. We can start making things, I believe, like resistors. And we can start making these a lot more efficiently. So before we were just using the normal copper wires, but now we'll be able to upgrade to annealed copper, and we will get more resistors and more vacuum tubes. There we go. Vacuum tubes. So yeah, this is something we want to get in pretty much immediately because it's going to help with our circuit production as well. So that's the goal for today. We're going to set up the arc furnace, and we're going to try and get our hands on some annealed copper, and we might even try out the new kind of recipes we can use with our circuit components as well. So in order to make the arc furnace, we are going to need to use this recipe here, which it's not too bad. A couple of 4x tin cables, some LV circuits, machine hole, some steel plates. That's not too bad. But there is one item we don't have. Graphite cell. So this is a item we have to make inside of the canner, which is why that was connected, I guess, to the arc furnace quest. And in order to make this graphite cell, we need one empty cell and graphite dust. Well, graphite dust comes from an ore, graphite ore, which is actually something we have plenty of, because if we look at that ore, graphite ore is actually part of a diamond vein, and it's pretty common inside diamond veins, so we have quite a bit. And I just went around and processed them up. So let's go ahead actually downstairs and pick us up. Well, we just need a single piece, actually. I don't think we need any more than that. We just need the one cell to make this. So we have some graphite down here in the ore processing area. In fact, what are we processing right now? We got cryolite in there. What's in here right now? Oh, we have quite a bit of stuff in here. So we've got electrotine, galena, pyrite, sphalerite. Interesting. What do we have over here? So where is the... Oh, I've already forgot what I was looking for. I've already figured out graphite. There it is. So I should have some graphite around here. So there it is. Graphite. We have quite a bit. We just need the one dust. And what is this stuff here? There's the galena, some pyrite, and tricalcium phosphate. Right, where we lock those up. Perfect. So we got the graphite dust, and we should be able to make ourselves the graphite cell now. Let's go head on up here and make that. We just need, I think, one empty cell. And then we need to come over here to our basic canner. And put you there. Empty cell, graphite dust. And that should give me the graphite cell. Perfect. Right, so that should allow us to go ahead and make ourselves the arc furnace. So here we go. Oh, we're missing the 4x tin cables, aren't we? Whoops. Actually, I might have some in my backpack, don't I? Yep, I do. Perfect. Alright, we're gonna have that there, and there's the basic arc furnace. So let's see if we can get that done. Ooh. Get some fireworks for that. Very good. Alright, so we got the basic arc furnace. Alright, let's put that empty cell away. We don't need that, I don't think. So, the other thing we're also going to need to use this with is we're going to need oxygen. So, we're going to set this thing up pretty much close to where we've been setting up a lot of other stuff recently. So, we're going to set up the arc furnace right here. And it's going to be right next to where we have our oxygen, because if we look at the recipes for this again, we are going to need, you'll notice, oxygen for all of these. So this thing uses oxygen. It's not too much, only 63 liters for 1 annealed copper. That's actually not that much. But there is probably one other thing you might have noticed by looking at this recipe, and this is where this machine becomes a little bit different from other machines. So you're going to notice it uses 90 EU per tick. So in LV is basically, I think, 32 EU a tick. This uses 90 EU a tick, which is a little strange. But if you come down here, it says amperage, which is 3 amps. And what that basically means is, in order to power this guy right here, we are going to need to give him 3 amps of LV power. So this guy is quite a power-hungry machine. So what I have done is I have a little back room right here set up, and we're going to put 3 turbines in here, right on top of those pipes, which I should have those. And we're going to pop them right here. They should all be ready to go. I hope we don't actually have... I hope we have enough steam to keep up, because this is all connected to the same line as this stuff and this stuff, so I might have to do some adjustments with that at some point. Although this is not running right now. This is just draining way too much of my oxygen right now. We are building back up again. We're at 353. In fact, hydrogen, almost full, actually. And nitrogen, it's getting there. Over 1 million. Right, so we have this here. So what we're going to do in order to power this guy is we're going to need to use the 4x cable since we have 3 amps. And we're going to pump that into a battery buffer, which will be filled with 4 batteries. I guess we don't really need to do it like this, but I think it'll just be better. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect you up. We're going to need actually the wire cutter as well. And we're going to connect you like that. Should work. And we're going to put our battery buffer in like this. So that, is that connected? I can't tell. Yeah, it is. So we're going to put our batteries in. And it is charging back up. That's a good sign. And that should be all we need to do. Just grab a block there and plug that up. And now all we need to do is put our basic arc furnace right here. And I think we should be good to go. So this is LV power. Shouldn't have any issue. There we go. Basic arc furnace. Right, so the next thing we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to connect you up to some oxygen supply. So let's see if I've got some pipes on me. There we go. Small Barnes fluid pipes. And all we need to do is just drag you along like that. And then, where's my wrench gone? Oh, I left my wrench upstairs, didn't I? Alright, well, let's go pick that thing up. Actually, I think I was charging it. I must have forgotten to pick it up. It is also nighttime as well. So, let's see. Is the wrench in here? Yeah, there it is. And there's an ink sac there. Let me throw that out. Turn off the magnet. Oh, we gotta go to sleep as well. It is nighttime. Alright, so we got our wrench. And let's go ahead then and kind of connect everything up here. So we'll put the little arrows on you. You should start filling with oxygen. Lovely. And in fact, I should have grabbed some iron and copper while I was up there so we can actually test it. Alright, so let's head back up the stairs again. We'll grab... we'll grab a couple. I don't really need much raw iron. We have 186, so we're doing okay on that right now, but the annealed copper we don't have any of, so that's a brand new one for us. Right, so let's head back down here. So all we should have to do is just put in, we'll test it with you, and I think we should start making it. Yes, it is using 90 EU a tick, and there we go, raw iron. Right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to set up an input and output. I think the simplest way to do this would be by using a hopper. So to input you, we'll have a hopper there with a barrel on top, I think, and then we'll put a barrel to the side. And we'll set you to auto output into the barrel. Lovely. So we should just be able to stick the copper in. Do you want to try the copper first? Let's take you out. We'll do the copper for now. See if we can get our hands on that annealed copper. And there we go. Annealed copper. Lovely. So there are a couple of quests as well, I believe, associated with annealed copper. Right here. Right, so we need to get our hands on 1 stack of annealed copper. So it's even faster and cheaper to make annealed copper in the arc furnace than in the electric blast furnace. Well, we don't even have that yet. Annealed copper is very good material for cables and MV. It only loses 1 EU per block. Okay, that'll be good to know for then. And then, there was another quest here. Faster steel production. Fast alternative to steel production is to use the arc furnace and smelt iron ingots or dusts into raw iron ingots. Then macerate them to dust and smelt them very fast in the EBF for steel. Ah, okay. So that's how we're going to be able to start upping our steel production, but we're going to need an EBF to actually do that. How much do we have here? That's pretty good so far. Let's take 16 of these then. Right, so we are getting it. Actually, no, let's keep these in here. We need a stack for that quest account. What was this one want? I guess this one only actually wants us to have a stack of iron, raw iron, and steel, which we actually have, so we might as well do that. So let's quickly knock that quest out, since that's actually just a matter of picking up a couple of ingots. There we go. Steel and raw iron, that should be enough. There we go. Faster steel production, even though we really haven't done that. In fact, actually, do I have any steel in here waiting to be picked up? We have a little bit. In fact, we're about to get another load as well. Right, that's good. Alright, let's put you away. 628 steel, not that bad. Alright, now let's go see how much longer we need to get this annealed copper up and running. Just want to stack for the quest. So, 36, we're not that far off. We're getting there pretty steadily. So, a little bit more to go on that. You might have noticed, by the way, on this floor, I have gone ahead and improved our lighting. You might have noticed all the torches on this floor are now gone. I haven't done anything down to the actual basement down there. We still have torches down there, but I did finally get around to removing all the torches on this floor of the base right here. So, as you can see, we're using the little flat lamps right here now. Sometimes we also use these glowstone strips, but a lot of the lighting now comes from these flat lamps. The way you make these, actually, I don't know if I've shown this or not, but so the way you make the flat lamps is you have to make this thing called an inverted white lamp, and that is simply just made with glass panes and redstone torch, which is not that difficult. And then you need this white Illumar thing, which you can basically make it by using glowstone and bone meal, and you can use a mixer as well, which is even more efficient, which we have the multi-block mixer, which makes that way, way better. But basically, you just use glowstone and bone meal. Well, glowstone we have a ton of because I farmed the crop for a while. Bone meal we have a really ton of because we have a little area over here, which is fishing up stuff, and as a part of that, we get a ton of bones, which we can easily turn into bone meal. So we're not short on bone meal in any way, so that stuff's pretty easy to get. The harder part, actually, in making these is really the glass panes, because you need so much glass. You know, glass, you get 8 for 3 glass, so it's not too bad. I almost wonder if glass is something I need to try and automate at some point. Let's see, what was that at again? I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it. Glass dust, I mean, the way I do it is I just use quartzite and flint to get 20 glass dust when I need it. But there must be a way to automate it at some point. In fact, actually, let me go back to the quest for the arc furnace, because I think there was a way you can use it for that. Let's see. The arc furnace is an alternative to macerating stuff back in the dust and for making raw iron, annealed copper, and glass in MV. Right, so in MV, we'll be able to make... Let's take a look, actually. Arc furnace. Yeah, you just turn sand directly into 2 glass in the MV arc furnace. Right, okay, so that'll be something we might want to give a shot at some point. And it looks like the annealed copper's ready as well. So that should be a quest there. And we just got hit by a little bit of pollution as well. That is also becoming a little bit more of an increasing issue. I know we have the blast furnaces, so they're in this chunk here. But I've been noticing I'm getting pollution more in this chunk now. And I don't know if it's because the pollution from that chunk is leaking into here, or if all these machines I've set up here are also adding to pollution. Yeah, see, there it goes again. Now, there is actually a way we could combat that. So, there is a multi-block. This one here, the air filter. So, this is a way we could actually deal with pollution, but it is quite involved, I think. It's not too bad. Well, there's some different blocks. Looks like a lot of steel just off the bat. Air filter turbine casing, air filter vent casing. Yeah, it is a lot of steel. That's what I thought. What's this one here? A lot of steel. Air filter... Oh, you need more? Wow, okay. So this is actually quite expensive, so... we might give this a shot at some point. How do you make the actual item? More steel. Right, okay. Well, we're not going to worry about that today, but... it is something we might have to do at some point, because pollution, at least in this sector, is becoming a little bit more of a problem. Right, so... we have our annealed copper. Did we get that quest knocked out? Let's take a quick peek. Yep, we did. We get all these knocked out. That's good. So, what I want to try now is... we're going to try... let's do half and half. We're going to try and use this annealed copper and see how it works with our circuit production. So, in order to do this, we're going to need to use... I think resistors will be good. If I can find the recipe for it. There you go. I'm going to bookmark you, and then vacuum tubes, because those are the two that will be able to take the most advantage of this. Right, so resistors and vacuum tubes. So I think basically it just boils down to we're going to need to give you into normal wires. And I also have another wire mill over here now. So basically, much like what I've done with the bending machine, we have this one always set to circuit 1 to make me the plates. And we have a bending machine over here set to circuit 10 to make me the foils. We now have a wire mill over here always set to circuit 3 to make the fine wires. This one will always make the normal wires. That's the way I've set it up. So we need to set you off to get the fine wires, because... for the resistors, we can improve it by using both the annealed, I believe, fine annealed copper and annealed copper. And alongside a little bit of carbon, which we have a ton of, we can now get 8 resistors. Before, it was only 4, I believe. So, that's a pretty big upgrade right there. We'll give it a shot, see how it looks. And then vacuum tubes should be a similar upgrade as well, which we can use... annealed copper alongside some molten red alloy, steel rods, glass tubes, we get 8. Which is actually a pretty big upgrade in my opinion, because before we were using 4 glass tubes to 4 vacuum tubes. Now it's 4 glass tubes to 8 vacuum tubes. Now this one we actually, I think, will be able to upgrade again, because there's this one. So the 5th page, we can actually use another fluid called redstone alloy to get 16. But redstone alloy, I think, needs a blast furnace for... let's see if I can find it. Redstone alloy. Yeah, you can use a mixer for it, but you need raw silicone, which I don't think we have. Coal dust we can get. And then I don't think you can smelt it. Yeah, blast furnace. That's what I thought. So we need the blast furnace for that upgrade. Right, so we are getting some. So there's some fine anneal copper wire. And then this is done. Turn you into the 1x. Perfect. All right, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what it looks like. In fact, I might actually need to grab a couple more steel rods, I believe. I think I'm a little short down there in the circuit area. So we'll give it a shot, see what it looks like. We'll see if it's that good or not. So, by the way, I don't know if I've shown this yet too much, but look how much refined glue we now have. We have almost filled this tank completely up now. So, we're not really doing any problems with refined glue at all. I mean, look at that. That's a ton of it, and we're still producing it right now as well. Right, so here we go. Resistors and vacuum tubes. So, I don't really need these anymore if we use the annealed copper, but let's give it a shot. I think it's just a stack of each. Okay, it wasn't a stack of each. Let's see. Maybe the circuit's different? Yeah, it's actually changed, I think. Let's see, carbon. Yeah, it's circuit 5 now for some reason. Okay, don't know why that changed. Circuit 5, and there we go. So it only actually takes one carbon, I just realized. So I think we only needed 16 or something like that in there. 15. And that should give me 8. Yep, there we go. We got 8. Perfect. All right. We can put that in there. In fact, that's already full. Look how much carbon we have. And we were basically voiding it because I've got a voiding upgrade on this, so it voids the excess carbon now. Everything here now has a voiding upgrade because we're getting too much of everything. Yeah, tons of stuff coming in. Right, so the vacuum tubes then, we needed a stack of glass tubes, and we needed we need a little bit more actually, anneal copper to run that. Let's go see if we've got any around somewhere. We should have some more, actually, we just made up over here. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty useful machine. In fact, actually, let me grab some more copper, then we might as well start running more copper through there, because I get the feeling I'm going to be using a lot of that. And it is nighttime, so let's go to sleep again. Okay, so now we'll grab ourselves, we'll put you away. I'll grab, that's a decent amount. And how much did I get out of this? Oh, we got a decent amount. We'll give you another half stack for now. Half a stack in there. Half a stack in there, why not? And then let's grab one more stack of copper as well. We'll go for 4 stacks of anneal copper. That should last us a bit. I do have to check and see how much oxygen it's using. I mean, it's not using too much for one single ingot, but I mean, for 4 stacks, it is using a bit. But I don't think it's using as much as we are needing for making the sulfuric acid. So let's go ahead and just pop you in there. Now, the bigger problem with this guy, I think, is going to be power, because it does use a lot of power, but we should be fine. How much oxygen in here? Okay, that hasn't actually dropped all that much. That's quite good. Right, so we need to get those copper wires, and we can test out that vacuum tube thing as well. Right, how much of you do we have? We're getting... we're almost there. We do have to be careful, though, because copper wires do look very similar to annealed copper. I mean, they basically look identical, actually. Let's take a look. I mean, it's basically identical. Maybe a slightly different color, but it does look very similar. Alright, there's the last one of that. We should be able to go ahead then and make ourselves a decent amount here of vacuum tubes now as well. Alright, let's go take a look over here. So, if I put you in fact, let's check and see if the circuit's any different first, just in case. No, it's all circuit 5 in that one. So we'll put you in, and you in. And off we go. Now, this one does use the red alloy, which I do have a little bit extra. Let's go. Let's put the rest of it in. There we go. Perfect. And we are getting... Are we getting 8 per? Yes, we are. Yeah, and look at that. Look how many resistors we're getting now. This is great. This is fantastic. And we still have plenty of circuits as well. But this is going to help us now making these resistors and these vacuum tubes now even faster now. So we're doing quite good. And again, our fine glues, I mean, no issue with that anymore. I remember when we were first making circuits, well, fine glue was one of our biggest issues because we had to use the sticky resin manually. Well, now it's all pretty much automated, so... And I'm not even using this for rubber. I'm just voiding the raw rubber dust at the moment just because this tank's so full. So, in fact, we actually have more cables in here. Yeah, this whole setup over here worked out really well. I mean, the rubber setup itself, honestly, almost, I think, works out too well because this thing filled up fast. I haven't been running this for a while now. So, yeah, I mean, I kept this because I wanted to get more fine glue, and even that's starting to fill up now. So, yeah, look at that. We're doing quite well. Once I get 2 stacks, I think we can start loading up a little bit more. In fact, I think we can start now. I think we can just start loading this guy up and start making more circuits already. I don't think there's any better way to make circuits. At least not right now. I mean, this is the circuit assembler. I mean, we're already doing this earlier than we should. We made this thing a lot earlier because we got those empty circuits from a loot bag way long ago. But this has been pretty good. Alright, well, let's put these in and see if we can actually run this as well. Is that all we need? Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's going to give us some more circuits. I just need to give you a little bit more in terms of vacuum tubes, I think, and that will be pretty much it. Although, actually, I might need some more red alloy wires as well. Oh, you're already finished. Yeah, I think I'll have to give it a little bit more red alloy wires to go through all of that, but that should end up being, once I give it another stack of red alloy, another, like, what is that? Stack of circuits, I think? How much does it give you? I've already forgot. Yeah, it just gives you the 1. Yeah, so this should be 1 stack of circuits once I give it another stack of red alloy wires, right? So that's pretty good. But yeah, this is definitely a big upgrade. The annealed copper is going to improve our circuit production, I think, quite a bit. So that's going to be quite good. So yeah, we got that done. So the arc furnace is going to be quite useful. Let's see, how's oxygen? I want to say that's gone up, actually. I think we're producing oxygen faster than the arc furnace can consume it, so I don't think that's an issue then. So that's actually quite good. Alright, well, let's go ahead then and claim our quests for today. So these are the quests that we did today. We got the arc furnace, which is going to give us a loot bag and some coins. This was annealed copper. I don't think we need those, and I'll just take a loot bag again. And then this was the fastest steel production, which is 32 oxygen cells. I mean, that's pretty much automated, isn't it? Let's take a loot bag. Yeah, loot bag it is. And I don't think we have anything else to turn in either, do we? Nope, doesn't look like it. Right, so let's put these coins away then. Alright, so let's put these over here. Let's put you there. What is these? Blacksmith coins. Alright, and we do have 3 loot bags. But we aren't actually going to open these loot bags today. So actually, one more thing before we end off I want to mention is I also have another idea for episode 100 as well, and what we're going to do is, so this is episode 95 again, so every episode between now and episode 100, all the loot bags we get, we are going to place them in this golden barrel right here, and we are going to save these loot bags, because my new plan is, for episode 100, I think at the very end, we're going to do a grand loot bag opening. So all the loot bags we get over the next couple episodes, we're going to store away. And at the end of episode 100, I think we're going to open up all of them at once. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting way to end off our 100th episode. But that's what we're going to do as well. So it'll be a couple episodes till we open up our next loot bag. Now, we are going to probably get quite a few loot bags, I think, going forward, because here's the LV Quest book, and starting next episode, we are finally going to begin working, I think, on getting into oil. We're going to start doing that, and we're going to need to do some oil processing soon as we work our way, I think, towards polyethylene. That's the big goal we're working towards. So if we look at the view mode here, there's quite a few quests associated with this. We do the pump, I think, then I think that's a distillery right there. Yep, basic distillery. And then there's probably all these different types of things we need to get. I wonder, do we get loot bags from these? Yeah, loot bag. Yeah, loot bag. Loot bag, yeah. So we'll get a ton of loot bags out of all of this, and we might knock out a couple of other quests along the way. But what I'm thinking is, at the end of episode 100, we should amass a decent amount of loot bags, and we're going to do this like big opening, I think, to end it off. I think that'll be a fun way to end off episode 100. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode right here. So we got the arc furnace set up. We've set up a little bit of an improvement to our circuit production, and yeah, things are starting to improve a bit more. We're getting more improvements made. That's the name of the game, improving production of various things. So that's what we've been able to do. So I think that is where we're going to leave this episode. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.